Being a software architect is an incredible role, right? But let's be honest, the tech world moves so fast, it can feel like you're constantly just trying to keep your head above water. So how do you get ahead of the curve? How do you start proactively managing your own career growth? Well, today, we're going to break down a really clear, actionable system to help you do exactly that. This question, it just hits so close to home, doesn't it? The tools, the frameworks, even the big ideas that we spend years mastering could become old news almost overnight. It's this constant cycle of learning something new and then having to let it go that is the central challenge for all of us in tech. And it's especially true for architects because the decisions you make have to last.
Look, trying to face this challenge by frantically reading every new blog post or chasing every shiny new technology, that's just a recipe for burnout. To stay relevant and actually grow as an architect, you have to be deliberate. You need a real system, something that helps you cut through all the noise and focus your learning where it's going to have the biggest impact. And the system we're talking about breaks down into two parts that work together perfectly. First, we've got a super consistent daily habit that keeps you tapped into the pulse of the industry. And second, there's a long-term strategic framework that helps you actually plan your growth. So let's start with the foundation, the daily habit. This right here is probably the highest return investment you can possibly make in your career. And the best part? It only takes 20 minutes a day. It's a simple rule, but it builds such a solid foundation for everything else you're trying to learn. The rule itself couldn't be simpler. Before you do anything else, before you check a single email, you dedicate the first 20 minutes of your workday to learning. Now, the goal here isn't to master some new language overnight. It's about consistently building your technical breadth, just staying aware of what's happening out there. The real magic here is the consistency.
So, where do you find good stuff to read? You don't have to look far. Start with high-quality, curated resources. InfoQ is fantastic for articles that go deeper than just the surface-level stuff. DZone Reef cards are like these perfect little cheat sheets for getting up to speed on a topic fast. And the Thoughtworks technology radar, that's absolutely essential for seeing what's coming over the horizon.
Okay, now here's the secret to making this habit actually stick. And this is so important. We all know what happens the second we open our email, right? Boom, our entire day's agenda gets hijacked by other people's problems. So you have to protect this time. The routine is get your coffee, sit down, and learn for 20 minutes. Then and only then do you open your inbox.
All right, so you've got this daily habit going. Now let's zoom out and see how this little habit feeds into the much bigger picture. All of that daily reading will start to show you patterns, you'll find new areas you're interested in, and the personal technology radar is the tool you're going to use to capture all of that and turn it into a real long-term career strategy.
The whole idea, which was inspired by Thoughtworks, is to create a visual map of the technologies that matter to you. It's a way to categorize all the things you're hearing about and make conscious, smart decisions about them. Just think of it as your own personal guide to the entire technology landscape. The radar is organized into 4 rings, and they basically represent how mature or ready a technology is for you. Adopt is for the proven tools you use all the time, the stuff you'd strongly recommend. Trial is for things you're ready to test out, maybe on a project with low risk. Assess is for technologies you need to research and really understand. And finally, hold is for stuff that's maybe getting old or things you should be careful with. Then you slice that radar into 4 quadrants to keep things organized. Typically, these are techniques, things like micro front ends or event storming. Then you have tools, like a specific CI/CD platform. Then there's platforms like Kubernetes or a cloud provider. And of course, languages and frameworks. So now you have the structure, right? Rings and quadrants. But this is so much more than just a categorization exercise. The real true value here is in the thinking process that goes on behind the scenes. Let's dig into what that actually means.
And this, right here, is probably the most important thing to get about the radar. The final image, yeah, it's a useful snapshot in time, but the real gold is in the exercise of building it. The process forces you to think strategically. It makes you ask yourself tough questions. Why should I even look at this? What's the real risk of trying that? What skills do I absolutely need to adopt to stay relevant next year?
So at the end of the day, your personal radar becomes your guide for managing your most valuable asset, your own knowledge portfolio. It helps you decide where to invest your super limited time and energy. It's all about making deliberate, informed bets on your career, instead of just drifting along with whatever's trendy this week. When you put it all together,
the daily habit feeding the strategic radar, your whole approach to career development transforms. It stops being about reaching some final destination and becomes what it should be, a continuous journey, a practice that you cultivate day in and day out.
This quote from Ted Neward just hits the nail on the head. You don't become a great architect just by working on a few big projects. That's not how it works. You become great through constant, deliberate practice. And the 20-minute rule, the personal radar, well, that's your practice field. That's your gym. It's how you practice the thinking of an architect every single day.
All right, let's just boil this all down to the key takeaways. First, you have to actively fight against knowledge decay with a system for continuous learning. Second, make that 20-minute rule a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. Third, build yourself a personal technology radar to guide your long-term strategy. And maybe most importantly, always remember that the real goal is the process of strategic thinking, not just the pretty diagram at the end.
Okay, this isn't just theory. You can literally start doing this right now. Just think about a technology you've been hearing about or a tool you've been wanting to try. Is it something you need to assess, or is it time for a trial? Go ahead, make a call. What's the very first blip you're going to add to your radar?